Opening the English, white immediately seeks influence over the d5 square. Establishing central pawn presence immediately, e5 boldly contests white's initial flank advance, promising an open and dynamic middle game. Developing the knight here grabs central squares and prepares for rapid development, aiming for an early pawn advantage. Developing the knight to a natural square, this move prepares for castling and contests the d4 square. Developing the knight towards the center, this move prepares to castle and reinforces the pawn on e4, creating a solid foundation for further development. Developing the knight here gracefully bolsters central influence, setting up potential kingside activity while maintaining solid defense. Boldly challenging the center, white immediately aims to unravel the pawn structure and seize central initiative. Opening the center, black bravely accepts the pawn, inviting an immediate central confrontation and potentially freeing up pieces. Capturing the pawn opens a central diagonal and reestablishes white's piece mobility. Activating the bishop on b4 creates immediate tactical pressure on the knight, potentially disrupting white's central control and forcing a response. Pinning the knight immediately pressures the e5 pawn and disrupts black's pawn structure. Challenging the pinned knight directly creates immediate friction, potentially forcing concessions or opening unexpected lines. Retreating the bishop clarifies the central tension, anticipating a potential knight maneuver. Capturing that knight offers material equality but concedes the bishop pair, a significant positional concession. Opening the b-file, white embraces a structural imbalance to potentially exploit kingside pressure later. Steering the knight toward the e5 outpost offers a foothold, but beware the bishop's long diagonal pressure. Solidifying the center and preparing to develop the bishop to a more active square. Recapturing the knight, black aims to redeploy its pieces and contest the central pawn structure after the forced pawn exchange. Returning the bishop to its central post initiates a subtle squeeze, aiming to dislodge black's knight and secure a queenside advantage. Initiating a knight duel opens lines, but risks pawn structure damage. White aims to bolster the center and prepare for potential queenside expansion, all while eyeing black's less mobile knight. This exchange sacrifices a knight for a pawn, opening the h-file and creating structural weaknesses for white. Opening the h-file decisively unleashes the rook, now eyeing the weakened kingside. Solidifying the pawn center and preparing to develop the bishop are key, but the knight on g6 looks a bit out of play for now. A bold pawn thrust aiming to seize central space and cramp black's pieces, but it weakens the kingside diagonal significantly. This allows black to contest the central d-file and prepares to develop the kingside pieces for an active role. Unleashing the king's potential, a daring maneuver for active piece play. Shifting the knight towards the queenside hints at a potential pawn storm or a desire to support a kingside advance. Breaking open the queenside opens crucial diagonals and challenges black's central influence. Initiating pawn thrust on the queenside creates immediate space and opens lines for your rooks. A forceful check, aiming to disrupt black's pawn structure and expose their king. The knight seeks safer pastures, aiming to reposition for a more impactful role, perhaps on the queenside. Unleashing a knight towards the black king creates immediate pressure, aiming to exploit the weakened kingside structure. Confronting the knight's advanced post, this queen repositioning seeks to disrupt white's central pawn structure and prepare for potential counterplay on the kingside. Solidifying central control and preparing for a d-file assault, this maneuver efficiently repositions a crucial rook. A risky gambit for kingside pawn structure, potentially opening lines for white's queen and bishop. Unleashing a knight to harass the king's shadowy flank creates immediate dynamic complications and invites material imbalances. A crucial regrouping, rerouting the rook to reinforce the beleaguered king's defenses and prepare for potential pawn advances. Opening the g-file seeks to exploit black's exposed king, but beware of creating new weaknesses. Sensing pressure, black seeks to disrupt white's attacking ambitions by challenging the bishop's diagonal. Seizing more central territory, this advance creates a dangerous pawn chain, though it leaves the kingside somewhat weakened. Unleashing a queen to the center, black aims to disrupt white's pawn advances and potentially launch a counterattack. Opening the bishop allows it to participate in the queenside pressure while preparing for potential pawn pushes. Asserting central control and opening diagonals for the queen and bishop, this knight repositioning prepares for an aggressive queenside expansion and challenges white's spatial advantage. A bold repositioning, aiming to exploit the open king file and pry open black's queenside pawn structure. A precarious king walk commences, prioritizing escape over immediate counterplay. Exploiting the exposed black king, this knight repositions to a potent attacking square, threatening a swift assault. Unleashing the queen to pressure the center, aiming to disrupt white's pawn structure and open lines for attack. Unleashing a rook to a surprisingly aggressive outpost creates a deep strategic threat on the 7th rank. Seeking to break the siege on white's king, black repositions the bishop to a more active square, potentially eyeing d3 or c2. Unlocking a pawn chain, this advances to challenge black's isolated monarch and create attacking possibilities. Black endeavors to untangle the queen's knight and prepare for central action, while white's attack on the kingside gains momentum. Unleashing a pawn storm towards black's king, sacrificing material to shatter black's pawn shield and expose the monarch.